guys, welcome on Watches TV, and we're here with Ming, and we're going to talk about their recent partnership, recent collaboration that they created with two other brands. It's quite an interesting topic, and also we're going to see some great timepieces that they created together. So welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. It's actually our first major show outside in Europe.
Yeah, and you made quite an announcement at Geneva Watch Days about this partnership. Can you tell us more a little bit about this one? With which brands are you partnering and why?
Okay. So with J.N.Shapiro and Fleming, we've created the Alternative Horological Alliance, or HA. It's just easier to call it that. The idea behind it is basically all of us who are not from within the watch industry, and we have very unconventional backgrounds. In fact, we have all non-watchmaking backgrounds, but we have come together to create a little support society for the independent brands from outside the watch industry. It enables us to do things that are a little bit more interesting. It enables us to do things that perhaps we might not have had access to previously. For instance, we've got we have the machining talents of Mr. Shapiro, who's made the first all-American watch in a very long time. We also made the tantalum bracelet with him using that capability. We'd like to do more things with him in future. We'd also like to be developing other things jointly between the three brands that perhaps would not be possible for a single brand. And then on top of that, we've also got the ability to do joint events, attend more places. It just makes it financially a little bit more easy for the brands involved, and also it's easier for collectors when you can come and see three of us at once. But I think also the one really important thing is that now our collectors and their collectors, we have let's say support domestically on either of the US coast and in Asia. So at least it's a little bit broader base, and if you need to send a watch somewhere, it's just easier for long-term support.
Are you going to stick to the three brands of you, or you're open to other partnerships?
Oh, we're very open. I think just for the moment, because it's so new, we're actually trying to figure out how all of this works, who's responsible for what, and once all of that's settled, then we'll start looking and inviting people and all that kind of stuff. Because honestly, the one thing that three of us have in common, apart from being friends for quite some time, is that we have this tendency to go, let's do something, it's a great idea, we'll start, and then realize 6 months later, maybe that was not the smartest thing to do, but we're committed, so that's kind of important. I don't want to drag anybody else into that until we know what we're doing, basically.
So you mentioned about the partnership between the three brands. Does it mean that you said you're going to produce some timepieces together? Or does
I didn't say that necessarily. We don't know about that just yet, but we want to produce things together, whether it's timepieces, movement components, cases, whatever it is. We do want to try and leverage off each other's strengths. I don't know what that is yet, and I don't think any of us know what that is yet. It's just we discuss, we have an idea. Everybody goes, that's pretty cool, let's try it. But I think the freeform and very spontaneous nature of what we do is also helpful, because I think that's also how we run our own brands. To some degree, we have an idea, we try to make it work. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and it's a bit less formal than the traditional structures where it's like you have to do the design, you put out the request for quote, and then by the time you get that far down, you can't really say no anymore. So to retain that flexibility and that spontaneity, I think is quite important.
Yeah, so Godspeed with the new creation, with the new collaboration. But I know that you have some fruits of this partnership already here.
So the partnership was formalized in July, and we have our first fruits already, very heavy fruits. This is actually one of our watches. It's the tantalum version of our Monopusher Chronograph from our 5th anniversary. With the dial by Carré-Voutilanen and the movement by THA, which is the Jaune Flageolet halter outfit before they went their own separate ways from back in the 90s. We refinished these, we refurbished them, and then I thought it would be great if we had a bracelet for it, but for us to develop a bracelet for one watch of which we made 20 doesn't make sense. I know that Fleming and Shapiro also have tantalum watches, and for them to do a bracelet also didn't make sense. And then three of us sat down and went, you know what, why don't we just make a bracelet that fits everybody's tantalum pieces? And that's how it was born. So the design is based off our first generation titanium universal bracelet. It uses a class system from the current second generation bracelet from us. The links are all machined from tantalum individually by Mr. Shapiro in California. It's going to be available in 19, 20, 21 millimeter lug width, straight and curved. So basically the last 3 links on the bracelet will vary depending on that, and then you interchange it at the third link. So what that allows us to do is basically make sure that it fits, one bracelet can fit 3 different watches. So if you have 19, 20, 21 millimeter watch in tantalum, either straight or curved bars, it will fit.
So you can purchase the bracelet separately.
Absolutely, no, absolutely. The bracelet will be only available separately, basically, and you can also have it brushed or polished. So depending on what configuration you have, we're aiming to start the pricing below $20,000.
Okay, it's great. But let's talk about the dial, which is really interesting. It's a guilloche dial, but you said also it's covered with a sapphire glass.
So this is it's a guilloche pattern, which has then been metallized in a very specific shade of like burgundy purple. But because we like to do dials that have inversion, so basically under the right lighting circumstances, they change completely and they basically become a mirror. You can't obviously do that with a regular guilloche, but if we put a piece of sapphire on top, we can, which then in turn allows us to put the tachymeter and pulsometer scales on the dial as well and make them luminous. So basically this is it's a very classical kind of watch, but it also has our own unique interpretation of it as well.
Yeah, you used to say that Ming is mixing classics and new technologies.
Yeah, it is. It absolutely is. I think we like to respect the classical watchmaking, and there are elements of that personally we find very appealing. For instance, the frosted gold bridges and plates and polished anglage. And we have that in both the Monopusher Chronograph and the Horological Chronograph. But we also like to do interesting things with new materials, like, for example, the borosilicate dial in Series 3.
Let's talk about this one, because it's have a crazy dial, absolutely, laser engraving on the sapphire.
Okay, it's actually borosilicate glass. It's a very thick piece of borosilicate glass. We use a laser to carve, or one of our partners called Femtoprint uses a laser to carve the voids within the borosilicate. We can't actually do that with sapphire because of the material. I've always wanted to make the Mosaic dial we did luminous. So the early Mosaic dials, which were basically micro cavities in sapphire, we couldn't insert luminous material in there. It would light up a little bit because it was reflecting the light from around the luminous indices that we inset into the sapphire dial, but this one is actually luminous itself because we have a ton of these little voids. Let me show you on the model.
But this is no hand engraving on this timepiece.
Well, there is handwork on this. There has to be handwork on this. So this is a large-scale model of the dial. You can see there's different cavities of different depths, from shallow on the outside to deep on the inside. That gives you a gradient of brightness. But because all of these have different volumes, they actually have to be filled by hand with luminous material. So there is a lot of handwork in this, in the sense that somebody has to fill this with a pipette and then polish it flat.
Yeah, and with the light, luminous light, it's crazy.
Yes, it's a very, very, very bright dial. Because of the depth of the voids in here, it actually has 20 times the luminous material of our diver, which is already bright.
Yeah. So, speaking about the diver.
Okay. The diver was, let's say, our last sports watch release. It follows on from our first diver from several years ago, but this time we moved the timing scale internally, so the whole dial rotates, not just the bezel. I personally am not a fan of serrated external dive bezels. I think they make the dial look a bit small. So by moving the rotating element inside the watch, it allows the dial to be bigger and visually more prominent, but at the same time we can keep the case a reasonable size. So the dial is sapphire. It has luminous material in several colors in the different sectors. It rotates unidirectionally in 1 minute increments, so 60 clicks. That's operated by a crown at 4. The case looks quite slim and quite svelte, but because we've calculated the pressure balancing and the crystal curvature, it's actually a 600 meter rated case with some, let's say, some safety factor. We tested cases to destruction until about 950 meters. So you have a nice safety factor there. Even if you are saturation diving, there is still safety factor.
So it's still.
Yes, it's a steel case. Yeah, it's a steel case. But the crown for operating the bezel can be used underwater.
That's impressive.
Thank you. It also has a display back, which is not usual for a diver either. So.
Yeah, but normally diver watches are used in the offices now.
Exactly.
Unfortunately.
Well, so for that you absolutely need the display back, right?
Yeah. For sure. So let's the last timepiece, which is crazy as well.
All right.
And let's wait. I see you have some scales here.
Exactly. This is the fun part. This is the fun part. So we have a scale, and that's now zeroed. One piece of paper. to a piece of paper.
It's a heavy weight.
It's a special paper. It's made of lead.
Yeah.
Okay. You see that?
Okay, yeah. 10.4.
Okay. Now, what I have here is an engineering final prototype. It's not cosmetically final because it's missing the last coating, but it is a functioning engineering prototype. You can see the animation in the center is running.
Yeah.
See the stars pulsating?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god, it's 8.9.
It varies. Now it's 8.8 because it's sensitive and not perfectly level, but yeah.
So what's the material?
Material is AZ31 magnesium, which is then plasma electrolytically coated for passivation so that it won't corrode. And then there's another coating on top of that just for an additional safety layer. So the cosmetically final watch is actually here. And this is how the final one will look. More metallic. It'll feel metallic. It feels metallic, but it looks more metallic and a little more conventional in that sense.
Can I try?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh my god, this is like paper. Really lighter than paper.
It's ridiculous.
It's
it is lighter
nothing,
than
nothing.
Paper, literally.
Yeah, this is crazy.
So
it's fantastic.
we think it's the world's lightest mechanical watch. It's probably the world's lightest mechanical watch. I can't weigh every watch that's ever been before or after. But as far as we know, this is it. We also have an automatic version for an extra 2 grams. It's very heavy.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, thank you.
You guys are doing crazy things, and hope you will continue to do so.
Absolutely, it keeps life interesting. We have a lot of interesting developments in the pipeline, including just taking the keys to our new Swiss office. So the first fruits of that will be seen very soon.
So maybe we'll see each other soon in Geneva.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me.